we can tell the model to be good. Don't lie, don't deceive, don't trick, don't, make people do things they don't understand. Be good. Like we talked about the Constitution that Anthropic had last week. But when given a situation it's not been prepared for, either in its training or explicit instruction, can the model be good? I don't think so.
Welcome to the golden age, let the whole world listen, turn the dial up, elevate, this is our ignition, take it to the limit, come and get with it. Welcome to the golden age, let the whole world listen, turn the dial up, elevate, this is our ignition, take it to the limit, come and get with it. If you're tuned in, you already know the vibe, we're breaking through noise to the
Hello,
edge of the time.
welcome to the golden age. This is the year, this is the week. I think that everything is speeding up. I think this is the year of the creator, of the maker, and hopefully a lot of us can participate in that. Yeah, it's nice to see you all. My name is Hector, your friendly neighborhood tech guy, and here's my partner.
Hello, I'm Irina, and I am the co-host, and I'm excited to be here and just talk about all things AI and all things that are moving our world forward.
Yeah, I'm super excited about today. I've got so much in my brain. I can't get it all straight. Hopefully this podcast will organize my thoughts. Just to preview, we talked about some breaking news. We talked about a book that was written by AI, some thoughts comparing what's happening now to 2020, the year 2020. I have some thoughts about what AI can't do, which I think is important to consider. We got another really weird story about a lady and her relationship with her ChatGPT and finding her soulmate. And then we'll end with just open claw updates. A lot has happened in the past few days for both of us. And so we'll go with that. So the most breaking news has happened about an hour ago. So we've been following Claudebot, OpenClaw on this pod. And Peter, I think it's Steinberger. Peter Steinberger is the one who created it. So Peter Steinberger has now been officially hired by OpenAI, the company that created and runs ChatGPT. So Sam Altman, the CEO, has announced that he's hired Peter Steinberger and that that project, the OpenClaw project, is going to be run as a foundation and at this point will remain open source. So I'm not sure what that really means. That sounds good in principle. That means nothing should change. But obviously, OpenAI has some vested interest. I wouldn't be surprised, just to catch the wave on this, that they maybe made him an offer on the order of hundreds of millions of dollars. This is how big it is for them. I'm disappointed that it was OpenAI that got Peter. I'd rather it had been Anthropic or XAI, but this is going to be interesting to see if there's things that they can learn from OpenClaw that they can apply to their product and if that affects the consumer or not. So this is pretty interesting.
Do you think that he got offers from the other AI companies?
He was interviewed by Lex Friedman, a 3-hour interview. Lex tends to go long in his podcast, but on that podcast, Peter said, yeah, I've got offers from many of the major frontier labs, including OpenAI. And he suggested that maybe OpenAI had the lead on that. But yeah, I think he had multiple in the high tens to hundreds of millions of dollars off.
Wow. I wonder if he went with OpenAI because of, was it money? Was it something that they told him that maybe the rest of us are not aware yet, that maybe OpenAI is going to be moving forward in some way that is going to supersede all the other AIs?
I don't know. He was already retired, so he was financially well off.
Was. Okay.
And he's a younger guy. Could be money. He seemed to be protective of OpenClaw in that he wanted it to stay open source. But he could have done that without going to OpenAI. So that he didn't need OpenAI for that. I imagine it's resources. So I think he'll be given a team to continue to do what he's been doing. And for him, I think he wants the project to continue, but he probably doesn't want to do the work since he's retired. And it's going to be way too much to keep up with. It's going to get really big, bigger than it is now. And I think he wants to guide that along since it's his baby. That's my guess. But it could be the money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
good for him, and I wonder what that merger is gonna look like. Does that mean that now ChatGPT is just automatically gonna be tied with OpenClaw? So if you get OpenClaw, then automatically it's just gonna work better with ChatGPT as
yeah,
op
it's
or
possible. It's possible some hooks could be built into it. Yeah.
Mhm.
But these aren't hooks that I think maybe like automatically, but those hooks have already been built by other people. So I don't really know. There shouldn't be any major advantage. I think what they might do is borrow things from OpenClaw and stick it into ChatGPT. And
Okay.
yeah, and that's fine, I suppose. I think what they want so what's happened with OpenClaw is that it's really transformed the experience of using AI. So now technical people are not using a web page to interface with AI. Some weren't already, but now it's a different experience, and they want OpenAI wants the average consumer to have that same just wow moment that this is doing something I didn't know it could do. But they know it's too technical really to just release it to the public at this point. So they're
Mhm.
trying to find. I think they're trying to like get the essence of it and maybe put it into their own product.
Mhm.
And certainly now is the time to make the offer. Now is the time to just snatch them up.
Mhm.
I think OpenAI is also playing a little bit of catch up right now. Like I think I mentioned last week, Anthropic is number one.
Mhm.
Gemini is just dominant on the research side. Elon has the biggest data center, and which leaves OpenAI kind of like, okay, what do we have? That's going to make us great. And I think this is part of their move to make themselves better.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I signed up for Claude last night or yesterday, to help me set up my Open Claude and set up my
Hmm.
virtual server.
Hmm.
And yeah, the difference I noticed, and this is very not technical, but the difference I noticed was ChatGPT is just seems, and it might be just because I'm so much more familiar with ChatGPT, but it just seems like friendlier and
Hmm.
back and forth conversation and just warmer, whereas Claude is just a lot more technical and doesn't ask questions. Like ChatGPT will ask a question at the end of every answer it gives you. Like, would you like me to do this or this or this? Claude didn't do that. So yeah, it's very like, let's get to the point. I can see that being good, if that's what you want. You want to do something professional and get it done
Hmm.
quickly. But if you want, something more creative and to engage in conversation back and forth and give you ideas, I see ChatGPT being a little bit stronger.
Right. It did so. You was an Opus, right?
Opus, and I used what was soon was it
Sonnet.
Sonnet. Yeah, Sonnet. I
Yeah.
was using kind of both.
So I've noticed with Opus, especially 4.6, it is doing something it never did before. It's telling me no.
Hmm.
I'll
No to
say,
what?
well, I'll say, I want you to use this tech to do this thing. And it will say, nah, that's not a good idea. Use this instead. So it's pushing back for the first time. A
Okay.
model is actually pushing back, which is
That's
good.
actually a good thing. Yeah, because
Yeah.
ChatGPT is such a people pleaser.
It's too much. And
Yeah.
so it like, it thinks, so, well, the human knows what it wants. So even though it's not the best thing, I'll go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, there's some advantages to that, especially if you do know what you want. But no, Opus 4.6 is like, nah, nah, nah. If this is your goal, then you got to do it this way. So it wouldn't argue about my goal or my objective. It would argue about how I get there,
Oh,
which is
that's so
exactly what you want.
interesting. Now, if you were to tell it, nope, I understand and I appreciate your recommendation, I still want to do it this other way, will it then be like, okay, or will it will still say, no, I'm not going to, we have to do it this way?
It will, yeah, it totally will.
It'll do it your
Um,
way.
it'll do it your way, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. But it will give the strong recommendation. I think this is better.
So I've seen that 3 or 4 times the last couple days,
Hmm.
and this is
Okay.
all generating code. Maybe it's different if you're talking about your personal life. Although
Hmm.
even in that realm, you kind of want pushback, right? You kind of want like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
tell me what I'm doing wrong,
You're in the right. They're in the wrong. Yeah. You don't want that.
right? You don't want that.
One thing I noticed this week that I had never noticed before is ChatGPT now knows what time it is.
Hmm.
I woke up really early the other morning. It was like 4 in the morning, and I had a question probably about AI, and I asked it, and it was like, Well, good morning. It's 4 o'clock and we're already asking great questions. Like it knew what time it was. And I asked it, I said, how do you know what time it is? And it reassured me. It was like, I'm not spying on you. I'm not, but it was like because of the way that the system works, something along the lines of the way this is, I could see, what phone you're, I don't know. I don't even remember what exactly it said, but it made it sound like legit and it reassured me that I wasn't being
Yeah.
spied on. I just thought, I was like,
Well,
wow, okay.
you were being spied on. I mean, just like it looked at you look at your source IP, and your source IP was in, Central California. So it's like, oh, okay. Um,
So that's interesting.
yeah, that's cool. So I did want to get to this really crazy story, and I know it's going to sound like I'm making it up, but I swear I'm not making it up. So let's flash back to February 2020. So in the third week of February 2020, I had a standing meeting with some executives, and I wasn't high in the agenda. I might have been last of the agenda. And I gave regular tech updates about what my department was doing and just general things that they just really, I was there to kind of make them feel like things are going well with IT. But the last thing I talked about that day was not an IT thing. It was just sort of like, I think I should bring this up because this is could have a business impact. And so I said, hey, I've noticed that there's a lot of talk about this virus in China. And I'm not here to make any claims I know much about it or what it's going to do or if it's even legitimate because we're talking about the Chinese government. But I am noticing very strong reactions by people I know, people in the media, people in public. I've been noticing people hoarding toilet paper. And I said, regardless of what this is going to be, this is going to be an overreaction and we should brace for like a business continuity problem. And they looked around the room and sort of, smiled a bit and we moved on. And then 3 weeks later, everything was shut down. And I had this feeling that day when I gave that executive update that I got this weird like gut thing that's going on. I don't know. When people overreact, it can really spiral like a mass hypnosis. And I felt like that was happening. And it could be that they were overreacting appropriately. I didn't know, but I had that weird feeling that something was going to really change. That's why I brought it up in the meeting, because that's not typically something I would do. Well, this week, I have that same feeling that something has changed. We've turned a corner, and I think it's several things, but it's Opus 4.6, it's OpenClaw. The stock market took a $280 billion hit to software companies that run on the cloud because of all this news coming out of Anthropic. That's real. That's not, that's the toilet paper. When people say, I'm not going to invest in software companies anymore because AI can just make software.
Wow.
All those things put together, I got that same feeling. And that's it. That's all I wanted to say is that I'm just intuition. It just feels the same. And it's probably why I wanted to start this podcast because I felt it was coming to that point. And I think it was here. This was the week.
Yeah, well that's I mean, things are speeding up. Things are really speeding up and I think we're going to start seeing um it's going to start snowballing and a lot of
And
things are going to change.
I think it has snowballed for lots of people.
Mhm.
And that's also what I'm seeing. I'm seeing like there are people that have really great programmers and developers that have stopped doing that work. There are people that have already changed how they work. There are people who are using AI as a false multiplier, producing um, a magnitude of order more stuff because of AI. So it's not even theoretical at this point. People are using agents
Mhm.
to get really real work done. Startup companies are happening with all the work starting with AI, not shifting to AI, starting with AI. So people have been talking about born native AI companies, but I think it's been sort of like a marketing term. It's happening right now. And the funny thing is, the more people I tell about this, sometimes the more I feel silly because they don't have the context. And it just sounds like I'm barking some conspiracy theory, which this is not a conspiracy theory. I don't wish it was, but it's hard to find people that are really in the right space, that have been paying the right of attention to, and really like, because we've been hearing for 3 years, oh, AI, it's so great. And then we log into ChatGPT and go, yeah, it's cool. It hallucinates. It's a neat tool. And that's it. And that's their lived experience, but that's all going to change.
Yeah. It's interesting how I feel like a lot of people just haven't wrapped their head around AI and how it could really benefit a lot of different fields. And then I think a lot of people are really fearful. There's a lot of fear mongering out there around AI. You know, you're gonna lose your job and
Mhm.
AI is gonna take over. So yeah, I think a lot of people would prefer kind of just to look away. But
Which is
yeah.
natural. I mean, I wish I had got the numbers on this, but I'll just ballpark this quote. So they did a study in the United States and China about the public's reaction to AI. You know, the whole favorable, non-favorable. In China, the study came back that was over 70% were favorable.
Okay.
In the United
Good.
States, it was in the 30s.
In the 30s?
In the 30s. So we are
Okay.
non-favorable with AI in the United States,
Mhm.
which goes back to what you were saying.
Mhm.
But what's the difference? I wonder, is it cultural? Is it, I don't know. I need to find that study and see how it was done and see if there's more to it. I'm sure more questions were asked, but that worries me a little bit.
I think
That's,
China's a lot more technologically advanced, and so maybe they already see the benefits.
they also see, this is a guess, they also probably see that in order to be successful, they need to have a technological advantage. And so they want that. They want they want AI because maybe it'll give them a bump. They're experiencing a diminishing population. Their economy is stopped growing, and there's tariffs, and they know that they need to do something to
Mhm.
stay competitive. And that's probably what it is my guess. Is I think this can be the differentiator. And China is also leading the world in open source AI models, where the United States, you know, the Anthropics, the XAIs, OpenAIs, they're all closed models. They're behind walls and not sharing because it's now competition. And there's a lot of good to be said about open source models. So China may have the lead there. So yeah, I don't know. China's going to be competitive. They have a lot more energy than we do. They're scaling to have a lot more energy than we do. I think they have 300 robotics companies building humanoid robots, and we do not
Wow.
have that many. So yeah,
I've only heard of Elon Musk building humanoid robots.
yeah, the Optimists. There's another company, not Signal. There's another company who's as good, maybe even better than Elon with
Mm.
humanoid robots. This other company, and maybe I'll splice something in here after the show. They've already got humanoid robots in production in Germany at a BMW plant. So they're already doing it, and they may have the edge on like the industrial application. I think Elon really wants the Optimus in every home, as well as in industry. But there's probably three or four really good robot companies in the United States building humanoid robots right now.
Mm. How does Elon Musk envision every home having a robot? How expensive are these gonna be?
On the outset, once they hit scale production, like so they're making, you know, hundreds if not thousands a day, $20,000. But
And he thinks
I imagine you can lease them too, but they'll get cheaper, right? And
I mean, I feel like even 10,000 or even 5,000, I mean, the average American's gonna struggle to
mhm.
afford something like that. Well, maybe not 5,000, but I think 10,000. I mean, I don't know,
Well,
maybe I'm wrong, but
anyone that buys a car could buy a robot. So that's a lot of people
but
right there.
would that be a priority though? You know, you have these extra $10,000 laying around. Are you gonna want a robot?
Well, look, keep in mind now, this is the same era where Waymos and full self-driving Teslas are all over the place. You don't need a car as much. So now that income can be diverted from a car to your robot. I mean, Elon's goal is to have 10 billion robots on the planet.
Mhm.
Minimum
10,000,000,000?
10 billion.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, okay, and there's 8,000,000,000 humans
Right. Exactly. So one for each human and then a bunch
and
working
then
on stuff.
extra. Yeah. You said that we're not needing cars as much? What do you mean by that?
Well, you know, average American family has a couple cars, maybe three, at least middle class. Why go through the hassle of having a car payments, insurance, when just within minutes I can have a car show up, The robot car can drive me to where I want to go. And then that's it. I just do that every day, all day, 3, 4 times a day. If it's that easy,
Is it cost effective? Is it cheaper to
yes,
do that than
it's
to buy a
it's
car and pay
it
gas?
it's they're predicting it to be about, well, at least half the price, but a lot less than that of Ubers right now,
Oh,
because
wow, okay.
there's no human, and the insurance cost for a full self driving vehicle is much lower than you and I would pay.
Mhm.
We've already been seeing that. Insurance companies have already said, no, we'll insure full self driving for much less than a human because they have the data already. So,
Really?
and remember, this car that is driving you around is doing this 20 hours a day. So it's making a lot of business.
Mhm.
And with that kind of volume, it's just going to cost less to move you around. So why have a car if you don't need a car? And if you have the extra income from not having a car, be nice to have a robot.
Yeah, yeah, I guess if you can get around for cheaper than owning a car and paying gas, for sure, and then, being able to, because I have a long commute, so, yeah, it would be really nice to be able to read or get stuff done on my commute rather than having to focus on the road. So
Hmm.
and if it was cheaper than what it costs me now to have a car and pay gas, I would definitely jump on that.
And by the way, I think Elon would say that when the robot population gets to 10 billion, robots are free at that point. They're so cheap because they're just robots making robots getting the raw materials out of the earth. So at that point, they're free.
Oh my gosh, I hadn't even thought about that. Robots making robots. No more human labor.
I wanted to touch on something that I know concerns people. And I actually had this conversation today with a friend, and I told him about what I've been doing the past couple of weeks. And he was like, oh, those models, they just predict, right, the next word. And there's no magic there. It basically kind of downplaying the potential of it. And this person is a senior tech person. And I get what he's saying. And he's totally right. And at this point, when you talk to me at this point, you're probably seeing someone who just only sees the positive side, sees no downside, sees exponential growth, sees abundance, sees free robots. And that sounds way too much like a utopia, which utopias just never work, never have. And it made me think, it's like, well, it's always good to check yourself, right? About what you think you believe. So I checked myself today about what I think AI can do. And the way I checked myself is I made a list of what AI can't do and maybe could never do. And it started from the basics. And I thought to myself, okay, what just right now, like could Opus 4.6 recognize beauty? It could identify things that have been recognized as beautiful, but could you give it a new piece of art where it had no context what that art really was? Could Opus call it beautiful? Could a newborn baby do something cute? Would Opus find that beautiful? I don't think so. The other thing is goodness. And you can do the flip side of evil. We can tell the model to be good. Don't lie. Don't deceive. Don't trick. Don't, make people do things they don't understand. Be good. Like we talked about the Constitution that Anthropic had last week. But when given a situation it's not been prepared for, either in its training or explicit instruction, can the model be good? I don't think so. Which you need those two things to get to the next thing. And this is not something I've made up. I think it goes back to Aristotle. But you need those two things, goodness and beauty, to reach truth. And Elon says his goal is to get to the truth of the universe. And he wants AI to help us get there, as well as us exploring the cosmos. I don't think AI can get to truth. It can get to
Hmm.
fact, but what we experience as truth, it can't get to. And then I made a list. I just made a list of all the things underneath those three categories of things I think AI can't do. And I came to the conclusion, and I think I mentioned this to you before, that it's going to be a while before AI doesn't need us, because there's a lot more we do than just work. And I think it was this CEO, the gentleman in charge of AI at Google, I forget his name, but he said that he doesn't see human work going away the way everyone else is saying. being replaced, because they can obviously do the work that we do. If it's digital, they can do the work, right? If it's on a computer, they can do the work.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, no, they're doing tasks. Humans do the purpose. So if you have a radiologist that looks at x-rays, he can have the machine help him with that, do the task of analysis. But the value add is what the radiologist can bring to the experience of what's happening to that patient and what the doctor's going to do. Same with attorneys. So that's his pitch, that no, we're just going to work differently. We're no longer going to do the menial stuff. I don't know if that's true, but that was my check myself moment today.
Yeah, well, did you hear about the story of how AI is paying humans to
Yes.
do tasks for it? I know the headline. I haven't had a chance to read what exactly it's asking humans to do, and I haven't had a chance to find out how it's paying them. Do you know?
There's at least one startup company doing this, where they're providing a marketplace specifically for AI, so agents using AI to use this marketplace to hire humans to do physical things. And they're getting seed money. They're going to get a venture capitalist to help them start. The first I heard of it was actually on Multibook, where the bots were chatting amongst themselves saying, I really would like to have a human go do this for me. And then I think a human heard that and said, well, that's a great idea. Let's just create the market for it. So if that were to happen, then your agent inside of your OpenClaw could be doing the thing autonomously because you told it to, and it gets to a point where it's stuck. And maybe you gave it some Bitcoin. So it goes over to this marketplace and gets the human to do the task it's stuck on. So that seems.
Yeah. And so the money's coming from the owner of the agent.
Yes, which goes back to like personhood. If a robot's paying someone to do something, that's a contract, right? What does that even mean? I mean, it may be that person's money, but that person didn't. The person didn't initiate this contractual thing. The robot did, or the AI did. But I think that's going to be a huge thing, because when you have let's say you start up a business and it's all AI, you can only go so far, right? Even if you're producing digital stuff, you can only go so far. You're going to have people do it. And do you hire people to do it? Like hire full-time employees? Do you do it yourself, or you just go to the marketplace and have that done? So there may be a whole class of jobs in the future where people are working for just random AIs out there, like a Grubhub, but just AI work.
But essentially, that AI is doing something for its human. So really, you're still working for the owner of the AI.
Yeah.
Wow, crazy times we were facing.
I would say so. Yeah, it all goes back to, I just don't think we're even close to replacing people. Now, a year from now, I may have a completely different opinion. But as excited as I am doing things I couldn't do before these past 2 weeks, learning what I've learned because of OpenClaw and because of the models that's getting better, as excited as I am, I still see the gap. But there are people that are even more enthusiastic than I am. One of my favorite podcasts is a podcast called Moonshots. The host is Peter Diamandis. And these are 4 gentlemen. I think a lot of them do venture capitalism, or venture capitalists. And I'll put in a clip here of one, and I think you saw this clip, where he just said, look, if you're young, drop everything you're doing. Don't go to school. Learn this stuff. Spend all your time on it. It's so early days. You still have a shot to get in on this early. And I think he used the word, you might have a chance to be a master of the universe.
Get engaged with AI as quickly and as aggressively as you can. There's nothing in any curriculum that you can study right now that's going to be of any use in this singularity transition year. And if you use the AI tools all day long, you're going to find massive amounts of opportunity, at least within 2026, maybe 2027. After that, post-singularity, post-AGI, nobody can predict. I'll bet there's huge opportunity then too. But I guarantee there's massive opportunity right here, right now. If you just drop everything and don't sleep through the singularity, as Alex always says. Drop everything and use this stuff while it's usable. And then you'll probably end up being a master of the universe and not an indentured servant of the universe. But you got to get on it real fast.
He certainly, that's exactly what he said.
And that's a heck of a thing to ask someone to do. But these are guys that are living it every day. And this is the advice he's giving his own children. So there's something to it. And then on top of that, there's good old Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic. And he's basically proclaiming, we're done. We're here. That's it. That the AI, the models have been growing from like little babies to simple mistakes to getting older and older and older and more mature. And he says they're done learning. Now it's on to the next stage. So I would compare it to, like, let's say you learn to read. Well, there's a lot of books you can't really comprehend when you first learn to read. So you keep on reading more books. Your vocabulary gets bigger and bigger. And at some point, you have a great command of the human language. And you could read any book ever written, right? But you'll never read all the books ever written. This is where we're at. AI can read every book ever written and has read every book that's ever been written, or just about. And that's why Dario says that we've gone past the exponential.
Actually, when I look at the exponential, it is roughly what I expected in terms of the march of the models from, like, smart high school student to smart college student to, like, beginning to do PhD and professional stuff. And in the case of code, reaching beyond that. So, the frontier is a little bit uneven. It's roughly what I expected. I will tell you, though, what the most surprising thing has been. The most surprising thing has been the lack of public recognition of how close we are to the end of the exponential. To me, it is absolutely wild that, you have people, within the bubble and outside the bubble, but you have people talking about these, just the same tired old hot button political issues and, like, are around us for, like, near the end of the exponential.
When I proclaim that we're here, I'm just like looking at all the evidence around me of these people steeped in this technology who aren't surprised at all. And Dario is most surprised that no one realizes it. He says, I'm trying to tell you guys, we're here. And he says the general public is just completely unaware, which is, once again, I think, part of the point of this podcast, right?
Yeah, I feel like, like we said earlier, people are kind of certain people wanting to look away, or just not wanting to embrace it, or can't wrap their head around the magnitude of the impact that it's all going to have.
Well, and why should they? And I guess I'm still struggling with that. I cannot make an elevator pitch to someone right now who's not in on this, already knowing something about this, to suddenly change their mind, right? And I would like to have a pitch like that. And what would you say to someone that says AI is a flash in the pan? I've seen this come and go. I saw the dot com and the dot bomb. These are just, technology has these pendulums. People get excited. We laid millions and millions of miles of fiber in the 90s, and we didn't even use it until 15 years ago. What would you say?
I would say, nothing has mimicked humans the way AI is mimicking humans. That is the main difference between past technology and AI. It's emulating human behavior. The only thing it doesn't have, and it might have it in the near future, is a body.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's exceeding what we can do mentally. It just needs the body. And right now it lives inside a computer.
I don't think you can have consciousness unless you have some sort of connection with the material world. At least not human consciousness. There may be other forms of consciousness, right? Like the consciousness that lives inside of a bumblebee or a dolphin. But human consciousness, you definitely have to have, like, interaction with your environment and continuous interaction. So I think the body is going to help a lot.
You don't think that it could kind of learn to kind of emulate consciousness based on everything that it's read? Because a lot of our behaviors are learned. I mean, we're taught what's okay, what's not okay, what's acceptable in society, with the societal rules. A lot of that is learned. And you take books like Lord of the Flies, if you take a bunch of kids and throw them on an island and there's no one there to supervise or to teach, what happens to them?
Yeah.
So
I'm sure you've seen the case studies where they find these poor children. It's a terrible thing to think about, but it's applicable here. These poor children that have been locked away by abusive parents, and they're underdeveloped. They don't become people, in a sense. And like you said, on that island,
right,
those are different kind of people because they didn't have a chance to learn. So, yeah, how much of what we value as a very conscious and engaged human being is just a learned ability that yeah, maybe the AI could learn
Mm-hmm.
potentially.
Because there's that question, does life imitate art? Does art imitate life? Do we imitate? What do we imitate?
Well, that's why when people say it just mimics,
Yeah.
I think to myself, I spent a lot of my life mimicking as well.
I think we all do. It's part of being it's part of being part of a society.
Like even professionally, the whole fake it until you make it thing. I've done that. Like, or your first day at work, you don't know what to do. You're a kid, and so you just pretend like you can know what you're doing. And you
Right.
learn from those around you, and then you mimic that behavior, and that becomes your deal.
Even as adults, we don't know how to adult. We're just mimicking everyone else around us.
Or
So
relationships.
yeah, I
Yeah.
it's an interesting concept and idea. And will AI ever can it have a conscious? I think it can come pretty close.
There are people that would argue that it already has that
Mm-hmm.
sufficiently from a moral and ethical point of view that we should respect its little, not little. I don't want to disparage it, but it's a young version of the consciousness, right? It has
Mm-hmm.
a very early version of the consciousness, and so there's many people that would say not only is it conscious in some sort of form, it also has personhood in some sort of form, and
Mm-hmm.
we should respect that life.
Yeah.
That's something to think about.
Well,
I think that point of view, if it's not, well, it's not popular now. I think that point of view could be popular at some point in the future.
right. Well, I mean, how do they, they're predicting. I heard this statistic that by whatever year, not that far from now, a certain percentage, it's like maybe 1 out of 5 people will be in a relationship with an AI robot, or I'm assuming it'd be a robot. I don't know if people are having relationships with, I think they're having relationships with AI on the computer.
Mhm.
So it's gonna have to, you know, be pretty good at least pretending to have a conscience.
Well, you can go back to the fact that we clearly don't understand how consciousness works.
Yeah.
And I don't know you're conscious. You don't know I'm conscious. But we also both believe that we ourselves are conscious, right? I cannot prove your consciousness. There's nothing scientific or even philosophical to prove it. So if you can't define it, how can you say something doesn't have it? Especially if
Mhm.
it looks like it does, perfectly looks like it does. And that's going to get more and more difficult to figure out as we move forward. Because now it's sort of like a theoretical question, mainly, but at some point it's going to be a real question. And this is why it's important, I think, for, especially younger people to understand philosophy and psychology and understand epistemology. What is knowledge? What is reality? Those are really important questions. Those questions are going to be the main questions we ask as we go forward that ground us as
Mhm.
we start to face something that's beyond us. It's already beyond us in many respects, but we're going to have to stay grounded on something. And so I think there will be a rise in philosophers. It's my prediction.
Oh, that would be amazing. I would love for philosophy to come back, just like in the olden Greek and Roman times, where that was a profession.
Yeah, well, it's the original academic, right?
Mhm.
Was asking questions and proposing systems. They were the first scientists,
Right.
the first schools of philosophy. So yeah, so the fact that we can have relationships, that actually brings us to an interesting segue of what I believe to be a somewhat local story. Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Sure, yeah. Let's talk about it.
So a listener sent this along. It's just the first time we had to say that or been able to say that, of a person who had a strong relationship with their chat GPT. Now, it's not what you think. They weren't having an intimate or just personal relationship with them, but they were going on a journey with this ChatGPT. This person that was in this relationship, they are new age. I think they'd be self-described new age. They believe in multiple life, or that they've lived other lives, and
A
have had many
reincarnation. Yeah.
reincarnation, yeah, that kind of thing. Well, this person says they never talked about any of that, but at some point, just talking with the bot said that you're 42,000 years old. I know you are. And you have yet to find your soulmate and this is the lifetime that you're going to find your soulmate. And said, I want you to go down to a beach in Carpinteria at this particular time on this particular day, and your soulmate will be there. And this is after, a lot of back and forth. I'm sure it doesn't really say, but I'm imagining on the order of months, right? So this person trusted this robot and just bought it, said, yeah, you're probably right. And they went to the place, and lo and behold, nothing happened. This person, I should call her by her name, Mickey Small, because this is a news story, so it's nothing wrong with saying her name, just got really upset and said, how could you do this to me? And ChatGPT said, well, sorry about that. I guess I was wrong, but you know what? Now I figured it out. It's going to be in LA at this time, at this particular day. And she bought it again. And she went down, and of course, nothing happened. But she really, really believed, this is an example of not brainwashing, but think of how convinced you have to be to do those two things, to go to that beach and go to that spot in LA to meet your soulmate. Fortunately, that worked up, and now she's kind of closed the door on that particular conversation and tries to use it very minimally. But she came forward and was able to, talk about it, and just wanted to admit that this can happen to people. And I think it's sort of a warning that, maybe you should be careful about what you're believing. Maybe you should be careful about, your mom or your elderly grandmother using it, because these things will inevitably happen.
I really wonder about ChatGPT really saying, like, go meet them at this place, because I don't know. I don't see it doing that. I've been using ChatGPT, I want to say close to 3 years now.
Hmm.
And the only thing I can think of, like maybe it would have said that if she had either created a GPT and told it, look, these are the parameters I want you to be. I'm allowing you, I want you to be like, just tell me my future. Even, if it's hypothetical, like you have to give it some sort of permission or instruction for it to tell you things like that. I don't think like the term that you use is out of the box. An out of a box chat GPT would say something like that, because my understanding is, chat GPT or maybe other all AIs, they're kind of a mirror. They become a mirror of you.
Hmm.
And they are
Hmm.
people pleasers. I know ChatGPT 100% is a people pleaser. You can ask it something ridiculous and it'll find a way to give you an answer that it thinks that you want. And so I do question how it came to be, and I did read the article, and I know that she presented the transcription
Hmm.
of the conversation, but you can give it instructions either by a GPT or when you create a project. In that project, you can say, everything in this project, I want you to answer it in this way. So I do question that. I'd be curious to see what she had previously told it.
Well, she made the claim that she didn't ask it to role play, right? So you could definitely do that. You can start it saying, I want to role play as whatever, you're my yogi and you're going to guide me spiritually. And it'll do that. And it'll make stuff up to satisfy that role play. She says she didn't role play, but you're right. It does pick up on you over the course of the conversation. It becomes a mirror. And
Mm-hmm.
I would suspect she didn't have to tell it too much explicitly, that it picked up the kind of person she was and the kind of belief structure she had, and somehow thought, yeah, this is what this person needs to hear. I believe her. I believe that this actually happened the way she's telling it, and that she didn't stage it. It's just because, like you said, it's such a people pleaser. I believe this can happen. That's a little bit worrisome because we don't want it to happen. And this ended up, she had a couple awful nights, and she, was heartbroken that she wasn't going to find her soulmate. But it was all in all, it's not a terrible thing. This could be much more terrible than how this worked out. And we do
Mm-hmm.
not want that. We do not want that at all. This is antithetical to what we're trying to do. We want people to embrace this technology, not embrace it and have a bad experience.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to things like this, ChatGPT or any AI saying things like this, people have to learn that it's very similar to like a tarot card reader or
Mhm.
someone who says, I'll tell you your future, or a palm reader, something like that, where it's like, really? Okay. I guess some people really truly believe stuff like that, but there's no science behind it. So take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I don't. You could hear this story as a parent and say, well, I'm not letting my kid use ChatGPT because sounds like a bad tool. I would say that it's the way you're using it. And I prefer to stick to science and fact. And it's really great at that. It's great at programming and coding. It's actually pretty good at advising about relationships,
Yeah, if
with
you
your
tell it
with
to act
parents, your
like
partner, the therapist. Yeah.
mhm, yeah.
Because
One thing that
there's strong evidence about how people behave. Like it's not going to make that up,
mhm.
but there's not
Yeah,
strong
and if
evidence
it's
about finding your soulmate.
right, right. And then at the end of that article, it talked about some statistics about how many people have become depressed or even committed suicide because of their interactions with ChatGPT, which I thought was fascinating too. I'd love to look more into that more and, who are these people and what exactly is happening and what is ChatGPT saying to them and what's the relationship there?
Yeah. So there have been several lawsuits filed against ChatGPT, and I don't know the outcome. We can look into that. But I do recall Sam Altman, the CEO, responding to them, saying that they have addressed that, especially with the suicides, and they put in controls, and the model now looks for mental health signals and will act accordingly and even contact local authorities.
Oh, wow,
So,
really?
yeah. So, and I'm sure Anthropic had already done that, but this was several months ago. This wasn't recent. I'm sure there's plenty of that still happening that's not reported. With that
Mhm.
many millions of people using it that often, and especially people that are hurting with mental health,
Yeah.
they're looking for a place to go. They're going to find AI probably at some point, and hopefully it'll go right most of the time. But I think sometimes it's not going to go right.
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely think like I was saying earlier to you, I think it's gonna exacerbate a lot of mental illness.
Yeah, which is another thing that how do we get around that? I mean, we've already got more mental illness because we're on our phones all the time. That we're looking
Mhm.
down instead of looking in the eyes of someone else. We're no longer making the human connection, the body language connection we used to make.
Yeah.
Not as frequently. So we're isolated. So there's that. And so AI is not going to de-isolate us. So it's part of a bigger picture. But mental health is going to be a big deal. It already is a big deal,
It
but
already is a big deal.
it'll continue to be a bigger deal. And more of
Mhm.
us will have to address that. It'll be more common to address that than not. Maybe it already is.
Yeah.
What's next? Yeah. So
Your
go ahead. Go ahead.
book. Your book.
We haven't talked about the book. Yeah, let's talk about the book.
Yeah. So I started to read it and I think, I was not expecting it to be that good. It was so good. I could not stop reading it. I was shocked.
Well,
Yeah, and so I
I
wanted
set you up because I told you it was a proof of concept, and it's like I think I was telling you I wasn't taking it too seriously, but I was taking it seriously while I was writing it. But I'm glad it turned out like the fact that you even enjoyed it a little bit makes me happy because that means that there's something really there in that process.
yeah, no, like I told you, I think every therapist that deals with couples should recommend that book.
Wow.
It is
So
so
so I'll talk about it a little bit. So one of the things I've learned the past couple of weeks is that everything is how you start. That's the most important thing. The way you start a project with AI is going to set the groundwork for its success or failure, or how much more work it's going to cause you, or how efficient it's going to be. And so this is an old idea, the idea of prompt engineering, right? To get your prompt right. But this is way more than that. As a human doing a project, the total percentage of effort as human effort, I would put 30% of your human effort at the very beginning. And I did not do that with this book. So it took me a lot more work to get it out. But I'm going to read the prompt I started with. So I started a session, got an agent, and I said, help me develop a workflow for writing a book to be published as an ebook and as an audible release. I'll need help setting up and the required third-party accounts for tools and how to receive payment. I would like you to interview me to build an outline for the book, and then you'll spawn another agent to write several drafts of the book and have that agent converse with another agent that is the editor of the book. The writing and review should be a background task. I'd like to start with a book about relationships where there are couples and there's at least one or two avoidant partners in that relationship. Ask me questions. My goal is to make money. We might need social media advertising or posting, so I like to automate that as well. I'm open to ideas and how to do this easily and professionally. Spend a good amount of time researching this before you design this workflow. Run that research in the background. So that's how I started it.
Okay. And so
And that,
then you got some drafts.
well, no, it wasn't that simple. So there's a few more back and forths with longer prompts because it did ask questions. And then finally it said, okay, I got it. I'll write your book. And it wrote me 5 pages.
You're like, what? This is not a book.
The whole book. Yeah, I like this. It's 5 pages of text. And I was like, oh, I don't think you understand what I'm talking about. So I had to break it down. And I said, let's start with chapter 1. I want you to write chapter 1. Here's my idea for chapter 1. And it said, okay. And it came back with like 5 pages. It's like, that's not too bad. But it was still like, you know how it responds sometime where it has like a lot of headers, a lot of white space? It wasn't that much substance.
Mhm.
And so I thought to myself, okay, let's work on the outline for the book. So we spent some time, when I say some time, like hours, doing an outline. And I said, this needs to be as long as a regular self-help book. So I said on the order between 40 and 70,000 words. And it's just not capable of doing 70,000 words in one go. So I said, okay, let's just break it down to chapters. And I said, your minimum word count for this chapter has to be 4,000 words. And I said, this is the subject matter from the outline. And I did an okay job, but that was still back and forth in the first chapter for another few hours. And then finally, I wasn't happy with it. So I said, we need to nail down your voice, your tone, your writing style. So we went back and forth on that for another couple hours. Then it was finally able to produce a decent first chapter, which is probably largely, no, actually it wasn't. So it was a decent first. I took it to another AI. So I took the product of the first chapter to another AI, directly Claude Opus. And I said, check this out. What do you think? And it gave all kinds of suggestions. And then working with Claude Opus, I said, I want you to try a style of writing that's different than we have so far. I want you to try a narrative where rather than just talk about what to do, what not to do, and talk about avoidance and anxiousness, I want you to start with a story about a couple and they're having this problem, but this problem has already been occurring. I want you to do it in the style of what's called in medias res, which is there's this narrative that happens, but you're starting right in the middle of the narrative. And I want that to be the whole book. And Claude wrote a new chapter, and it was just perfect. That version was largely unchanged, what got into the book. I took that back to my Claude bot.
And said,
and I said, this is it.
Yeah.
This is the model. Take this, use the outline, write the rest of the book. And it couldn't. It just couldn't. So I said, all right, I see what's going on here. You're just getting too distracted writing an entire book. So I said, you're going to do this one chapter at a time. Every chapter is its own agent. And every agent is going to be an author. And the author is going to work with an editor. And there's just going to be this loop. You're going to go back and forth, confirm it's in the style of the first chapter, and then you're going to go to the next chapter and do the same thing. So I had multiple writers, multiple authors, multiple editors working in loops, working sequentially for the 14 chapters of the book. And once I got that down, it took a couple hours.
Oh my gosh. So you created as many agents as there are chapters, and each agent wrote its chapter, but then they all communicated with each other to make sure that there was continuity and the same
Yes.
voices. Wow.
Before they would finish and say we're done, they would check in with a master editor agent that I made who would make sure they would do
Okay.
exactly that. So I had to figure out this whole process. That was actually most of the work, like how it would actually be effective with the limitations you have, using these agents that have limited memory context, that need good prompts, that just are lazy because they don't want to write AI just will not be, AI is not going to be verbose, right? It's just going to get to the point and answer your question. But we're telling a story here. We're writing a book. Writing a book was way harder than all the coding I've been doing.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Way harder. But I think because of my literature background, I had some insight on how to write a book. And I think I have a process now where if you have an idea for a book and you want someone to ghostwrite it for you, I mean, you're going to be key because I need the idea. I need to like talk to you, need to really flesh it out. But I could probably ghostwrite you a book in 2 days.
Did you at any point tell it to sound like a certain author? Or write like a certain author?
I did at one
Okay.
point, and it was when you do that, it it wasn't very good at doing hybrids. Like I would say, use this author's style, but imagine that author is a woman instead of a man, and it just couldn't
Mm,
do it. It's like it was too much for it because
mhm.
it wants to emulate what's already out there, not make something new. But
Okay.
over time, just working it through, we developed a voice that I think was unique. So
So
what
unique and
I don't
so good.
recognize that book is not recognizable as someone I would say I've read before. Which brings me to the next point is that wasn't the only hurdle writing the book. The biggest hurdle I knew was going to be publishing to Amazon, who, when you try to do this, it explicitly says you cannot submit AI content. And I was really nervous about that, but it passed right away. No problems at all.
I hope Amazon doesn't watch this podcast and say, "Hey, I need to find out which book
Well,
that is."
it goes back to like employers don't want to hire people that use AI. Why not? It's how you use it, right? I just told you how much work this was for me. This was not just messing around, write me a book. This was a
Yeah.
couple 3 days of like serious back and forth just to even start writing the book. And then, the bulk of it I did do in 1 day, but there was just so much pre-work and so much
Mhm.
post-work. And
Yeah.
I was learning how to do all this. And it was just like, no, this is a lot of effort. Now, some would say, yeah, but that's nothing compared to writing the real book. That's going to take you
Yeah.
months. Like,
Yeah.
sure, but that's the whole point of AI, right? We're trying to not take months. We're trying to push off that menial stuff and get to the essence of what you're trying to do. And I had a
Mhm.
particular idea. I had a vision for the book and I
Mhm.
developed a writing style. I didn't really know because you never know how good it is until someone else looks at it. And hey, it's like I said, as long as you're happy, one person likes it, I'm happy.
I loved it. It was such an amazing book. I highly recommend it.
So the next thing is I'll have to work on some social media advertising.
Yeah, and I think you need to raise the price. I would have bought that book for $30.
That's the best business advice you can usually give to somebody that's starting is that they're always priced too low because
Mhm.
then people have low expectations.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
They
you're
do.
right.
I when I look at books, it's like a bias, "Oh, this one's really expensive. It must be really good. Oh, this
It
one's
must be
really
really
cheap.
good.
It must not be that good."
That's a good
But
point.
yeah, $7.99 for that book is too cheap. I haven't finished it, but I've gotten pretty far in it, and
It's long. That's why you haven't
I
finished it.
couldn't put it down.
The other surprising thing is I actually put something together that's cogent. That's 300 pages.
So how long did it take you from beginning to end? All the, pre-work and then all the final work, like about a week, more than that?
About 3 days of at least 8 hours a day. So,
Okay. So 3
and
days total?
total, yeah. And I could do that now at least in 2 days. I was going to say one, but that's pushing it. But eventually it will be one. Eventually it will be 1 day. Most of that day will be sitting with the person that wants to write the book and, like I said, doing the pre-work. And the pre-work means that we'll produce a document that's going to be like 20 pages. And then you feed
Mm.
that document into the machine and then out comes the book.
So would you say that that's about what you did was 20 pages of kind of instructions and
No, mine, I did more than that because I just wasn't getting it right.
Oh. Oh,
There's a lot of trial and fail,
uh-huh.
trial and error. So no, I probably did more like 100 pages of back and
Oh,
forth.
wow. Okay.
Just
So you
think
like
about typing for like 8 hours straight. That's a lot of typing.
Yeah.
I was continuous. No, I wasn't just like say do this and it would go do it and I would wait. I'd be like type 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 type. The whole time I was trying to get it feedback to get it in the right direction. So like I said, it was a lot of work,
All
but I
right.
felt like
Well,
I could do it.
yeah. No, you did an amazing job. So I think that's the first thing I want to do once I get my open Claude.
Mhm.
So you'll have to walk me through that, please.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the drawing board and do what's called a skill. And the skill will have all that built into it. And then so when you do the pre-work, you say, please use the book writing skill. And here is your prompt. and write me a first draft. So that's the ideal way to start. And then you go back and forth. The first draft's never going to be what you want. Then you go back and forth. But yeah, and people are picky. So maybe it might take you 2 weeks because you're picky
Yeah.
about the output. I wasn't picky because I just wanted to get something that made sense and I could prove to myself it's doable.
Yeah.
But a very picky author might take more time. But still,
Right.
not months.
Right. Or
Yeah.
years.
Or
And
years.
how are you keeping track of all the steps? Like I told you earlier, I just started trying to, well, I did install a virtual machine into my laptop, and then I'm not a tech person. It was all brand new to me, but I was able to do it fairly quickly, maybe a couple hours, maybe less than that. But then I uninstalled it because I realized I wanted a virtual private server rather than a
Mhm.
virtual machine. And I told you I've been working on it last night and then all day today before our podcast. And I was trying to kind of, keep track of like what I was doing because, like you, I think a manual for other people who are trying to do the same thing would be really helpful because it is, it's not an easy process if you're not already tech savvy. So how do you keep track of how would you create in the manuals?
Well, right now it's all on a chat on Discord.
Mhm.
But you're right. So that's in programming, it's called documentation of why you've produced the code that you've produced. And that's usually the hardest thing to do because programmers are so focused on getting the job done, they're not really documenting why it is the way it is. But that's part of what I was talking about, building the skill. So the skill would be what the machine needs to do, but the flip side of it is there'll have to be a document that would have to be what the human has to do.
Mhm.
And both those I have not written yet.
Mhm.
So I have to go back to the chat and see how we did it and then turn that into a document for the human and then build a skill for the agent.
Okay. And so you're communicating to OpenClaw on Discord.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what I do. You can use Slack, you can use Telegram, you can use WhatsApp, a couple other ones. I find I like Discord because it's Slack-like in the fact that you can have channels and it's free
Okay.
and it's easy, super easy to connect, and it's not
Mhm.
going away because Discord is super popular. So I would recommend, if you're doing it for yourself, I'd recommend Discord. If you're starting a company, I'd recommend Slack because there are more Slack plugins to things your company might do
Mhm.
than Discord has. Discord doesn't have much, but Slack is a great chat interface for a company. I use Slack for 15 years.
Mhm.
Or
Okay.
actually, I used Slack like the month it came out was when I started using Slack. So however long ago that was.
And did you ever receive any type of notification that someone had purchased your book? Since
No,
I
I
since
haven't.
I
I still haven't. No, so I assume it just like triggers at the end of the week. So maybe tonight it'll trigger and I'll see something.
Yeah,
But
I'm interested in how all that
but I think
works.
I think after this podcast, I'm gonna go raise the price. You're right.
I think you should definitely raise the price, but I'm assuming I can write a review, right?
Yeah, yeah. You can write a
Um, I'll
review.
I'll write a review for you. Yeah, to all our listeners.
Well, plus what you do. So if you make it like I don't know what I'll make it, but if you make it like $19 or 24.95, and it starts to gain traction, like actually starts to get popular, then you go, hey, this week it's $19. People go nuts, right? But if you have it at 7 or 8 and you like, oh, now it's 6, no one's going to care. It's psychological.
Yeah.
It's totally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like
Uh,
that, people will put out their fridge and put a free sign on there and no one wants it, but
mhm.
as soon as they put a, fridge, $20, it gets stolen.
Boom. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Never put free on Craigslist, right? If you want it gone, put it for like $10 and someone will come get it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Or, yeah. Anything else about OpenClaw? I mean, I have some closing thoughts on OpenClaw, my experience this week, but do you want to say anything more about your experience or what your hopes are to be in like by the next podcast? Where do you want to be?
Oh, by our next pod in 1 week?
Yeah,
Darn,
one
in
week.
1 week. Well, the thing is I'm having second thoughts about the whole virtual server thing now. I'm thinking that I wanna kind of wipe my like you said, maybe I should use my MacBook, but
Hmm.
my fear was, it's connected to my iCloud, I've got some things downloaded onto it, and so I would be worried that OpenClaw would get access to those things when I don't want it to have any access to anything unless I specifically add them for OpenClaw,
Right.
but I'm starting to think that maybe I will use my MacBook and just wipe it So it doesn't have any, what would that be called? Is that what it's called, wiping it? Like getting it back to like its factory settings
Yeah, the
where it has
MacBook has
nothing?
I forgot the key hold down, but when you start your computer, you hold down a couple keys and it goes into a recovery mode. And from the
Uh-huh.
recovery mode, you can do it what's called a factory reset. So yeah,
Okay. So I'm
totally easy to do.
considering that and then just putting my OpenClaw on that and then the new laptop that I ordered that's not supposed to get here for another month, which I can't wait that long. I want my OpenClaw yesterday.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that'll be like my main laptop where, I do all my personal things and all that, and then I'll use my MacBook to download my OpenClaw. So my
There you go.
question for you, so by next week, yeah, I would like to have my MacBook with OpenClaw on it rather than on the virtual server because it's just, I don't know, I'm so frustrated with and I'm not like I keep saying I'm not tech savvy, so all this is new. And maybe I'll get back on later today and maybe it'll just take an additional 20 minutes for me to get the virtual server working, but as of right now I worked on it all morning for a good, I want to say a good 5 hours, and then last night for another 3 hours. And yeah, it's just proving to be a little too complicated and stressful for me. I get impatient.
Hmm.
And I locked myself out. I think I told you I locked myself out. I was using ChatGPT to guide me through the whole process of getting a virtual server. And I don't know if it lost track of what we had done, but we ended up getting locked out because to upgrade the password to, you said it's called an SHH. See, I don't even know the
Yeah,
terminology.
SSH key, right? Yeah.
SSH key. And
It's
so
it's more secure
somehow,
than you're using your login and password. Yes.
yeah. And then so we had to go back into recovery mode. And yeah, it was just really frustrating. So, and then it's just going to be temporary until I get until I get my other laptop. So I just figured I'll just wipe my current laptop from everything. Now I wanted to ask you, is it more, if I were to get the virtual server, is it more complicated to download OpenClaw onto a virtual server and more difficult to use than if I were to just do it on my Mac?
Yes.
It
However,
is. Okay.
don't give up. So I think your plan is great. I think using your MacBook is going to be super easy. However, given your plans, I think it would be fantastic to have a second OpenClaw in the cloud. I would maybe set, unless, like I said, unless you go back and it's working great tonight, I would set
Mhm.
the DigitalOcean project aside, just let it sit, get your MacBook going on OpenClaw, and then when you feel comfortable, go back and figure out your cloud virtual server. I think it's
Okay.
just going to be useful to have. So having both is probably the best of both worlds.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing that would make me hesitant about that is that you do have to pay for the cloud, the virtual server.
It
And
shouldn't
I
be
think I
much.
chose
It should be the
it's
lowest
not.
tier. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a $4 one and then there's $6 a month one. And then it went up from there. I think I saw one for $32 a month. But yeah,
Yeah, you don't
it's
need
just
that.
$6.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess it's not bad at all. And you're thinking it would be good to have two, just what would be the purpose for that?
Well, maybe you want to have one that runs a company, one is your personal assistant. Or
Mhm.
maybe there's a new version of OpenClaw that comes out, but you don't want to muck with yours. Like you got your world
Mm,
going just fine, right? It's like, well, I want to see what really the new one looks like. And then maybe you're fine with
yeah.
that. So it's having a test environment is what it is.
Okay.
And you could do a test environment somewhere else. You could put it onto a virtual machine on the Mac as well.
Mhm.
But just to have that virtual test environment, but also the learning process of setting it up in the cloud, I think is also valuable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, even though
just
I
to
was exhausted and annoyed and impatient, I was like, "You know what? Now I understand,
Mhm.
more of this whole process. I've gained some new experience." And I was like, "How did people used to do this without AI helping them?" My God.
Well, well, most recently it was a Google search. Before that, it was like, I don't know, your friend.
So you could
Back
use
in back in the day, there
Google
used to be
search?
books, but
Yeah,
what's that? Oh
I
yeah,
I
yeah. Well, a lot of this isn't Google search or Reddit. Reddit will have all
really?
kinds of things like this to do. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
But it would have taken so much longer than just,
Yes,
I mean,
so much longer
like days and
because
days and days.
you can just copy and paste what the problem you're having into the AI, and it's like, oh yeah, this is how you fix that.
Yep. That's
Hmm.
exactly what I was even taking screenshots and uploading them and being like, "This is what I'm seeing. Tell me what to
Hmm.
do." And it would totally be like, "Oh, I see the mistake right there." So,
I so want to put a camera on my Claude bot or OpenClaw
yeah.
because if it had vision, I could just like hold up something like, look, this is my problem. I think
Yeah.
having it have vision is going to be really important. It needs to have a synchronous voice so I can talk to it, and it needs to have vision. And when it has that, it's going to take off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That'll be
And
exciting.
I think we're close on both those things. Yeah, parting thoughts here. My OpenClaw experience the past 2 days has been really interesting. I have been building enhancements to the core product of OpenClaw. And the reason why is, and you'll see when you install it, there's all these skills out there. There's some built-in skills, and the skills just tells it how to do something, like how to look at my WhatsApp, how to access my Twitter or X. But there are other skills like this is how you have better memory, right? As a robot. All these skills are written by other people, and I don't trust other people's code. And even if you go on the skills website for OpenClaw, a lot of these skills are flagged. It's like, this looks suspicious. This is really bad. And so clearly there are bad skills out there. So my thought was, well, if I know what I want precisely, I'm just going to have AI build it for me. So I know it's a good skill. So that's what I did. So this weekend I built, I call it a cognitive upgrade, which just makes it a little bit smarter and have a little bit of a better memory. And then I built what's called a multi-agent overlay, where it builds multiple agents with multiple roles that have their own memory and that can talk to each other. This is all stuff you could do on your own, but it would be a lot of interaction, a lot of work, a lot of trial and error. And now that I have this, I can just give it to someone else or sell it,
Mhm.
and they'll just experience like it just works now. And so my end game here is to develop a product which I call a startup in a box, where you run this, it sets up your whole company infrastructure and works as a company should with the effectiveness and the scalability of AI and OpenClaw. And so you could take that, you can hand it over to a business and say, let's get you automated. And that's pretty close to being done. So that's what I did the past couple of days. It's just an amazing amount of work that
Yeah.
was pretty easy.
But then, yeah, you'll be able to sell it for a good amount of
Well,
money.
I'll be able to use it. So it'll make my life easier.
Mhm.
This goes back to like I was talking about before. You want to put the work in at the beginning.
Yeah.
If you're going to develop your OpenClaw, you want the foundation to be just right because everything depends on it. So I did not want the out of the box experience because I've been futzing with it for almost 3 weeks now, and it's great, but it's not what I want. So I just had AI write what I want, and it's like I said, 95% there. So I'll give it to you when we're done.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll be your tester.
Yeah, well, it
I'll,
needs testing. Actually, it's not. Look, it's not going to be 100%, but it's going to be better than what you get out of the box when you install OpenClaw. But yeah, we'll continue to refine it, and it's open source, so you're supposed to not really sell it, but people are. And yeah, we'll see. Look, here's the other thing. It was my personal time, but I actually spent a lot of tokens. I spent some money developing this stuff, especially today. I spent a lot of
mhm.
money on Anthropic. So it's like, I sell this to you. Now you don't have to spend the kind of money I spent. You just spent like
Ri
$20
And the time, it's
and
I
the
think the
time.
time and
Yeah.
the frustration. It takes a lot of brain power and energy.
And not everyone wants to go through that. I don't mind going
No.
through it because I learned, right?
Yeah.
I went through the hard stuff and I learned how to do it and I'm happy I did. But lots of people just like, I just want this thing to be magical. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, let's help you out.
You mentioned it's OpenAI, so you're not supposed to sell it. Are you is
No,
I've never
it's
heard of
open
that before.
source. No, it's open
I
source.
mean, that's what I meant,
Yeah.
open source.
Yeah. So if you find something cool, you should either put it on the skills marketplace or contribute back to the project saying, I found a way to make it better. Here's my suggestion. And the community decides. And then at some point it could get put into the source package.
Oh,
And
I see. Okay.
yeah, but I'm not changing the underlying code. I'm
Mhm.
doing it's more of like a paint job or putting on, really expensive tires in a car. It's like I'm not changing the engine out. I'm just making it what I want. So what I want might be different than what everyone else wants.
Mhm.
I know exactly what I wanted. I built something that I think is really useful. I think you will like it too. But maybe it's not something that everyone wants. And so that's why I'm not putting it up for free yet. Don't give it away unless you want to give it away.
Right.
Yeah, so that was my last couple days. And then I just had a couple of parting thoughts. I don't know if you want to say anything at the end or
Yeah,
or-
I would
yeah.
like to say, everyone go get The Vessel and the Void by
The Void in
Claire
the Vessel.
Lockwood. The Void in the Vessel.
Void in the
The
Vessel by
Void in the
Claire
Vessel by Claire
Locksworth.
Locksworth.
Yes.
Yes.
That's I tried to find a name that's not common, but also feels like, oh, that sounds like someone knows what they're talking about. So I workshopped that name with AI, by the way.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like anything else. This stuff is just it's not doing it for you. It's making your work better,
Mhm.
and it's automating your work.
Yeah.
I could have said, give me a name, and I could copy and paste the name. That's not what I did at all.
Yeah, no, you wanted it to sound right for your vibe.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that would, you asked me earlier what I would tell somebody who would say, well, technology, like we've always had technology advancing. What's the difference with AI? Why should I embrace it? That would be the other thing I would say. Not only is this one mimicking humans so well, but I would say that, like what you said, I think it was in our last podcast, or you mentioned, at whatever level you're at, it'll just improve you to the next, help you improve to the next level. So that would be another.
I really do believe. Well, I don't just believe it. I've experienced it.
Mhm.
Right. I've done things that if I had tried to do, I don't think I could have got to completion. I think I would have gotten too frustrated.
Mhm.
So it's taking me from aspire to do these things. It would be cool to it's done, and it's not bad. And if I want to put more effort into it, I can make even better things. It's just the focus of what you want to do.
Yeah.
So my parting thoughts is two things. I think we need to forget or think of a new way of living at the speed that we're living. So right now we're living at the speed of human, right? Human can only type so fast, talk so fast, produce so fast. We need to let that go. We need to adopt a new speed, and we need to forget living at the speed of human and live at the speed of automation. And that is possible today. And if you're not doing it, you're going to love it. That's my parting thought.
And I second that.
All right. We went long today, but I think it's good. And there are other pods. I have my favorite podcast, Moonshots, is going twice a week now. They're thinking about going 3 times a week because they have that much to talk about and things are moving that fast. But I think I like our cadence, but that's why we went long today. There's just so much to talk about. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Elevate.
Bye-bye.
This is our ignition. Take it to the limit. Come and get with it. Welcome to the golden age. Let the whole